Which brings us into our first issue today. Comic-Con Hall H had an absolute disaster. And I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. With what happened and everything that goes on. And of course, look, Hall H is of course where they do their biggest, highest profile stuff, like announcing Ghost Rider, right? That's where they do their big things, is in Hall H at Comic-Con. There is a problem though. Hall H can only hold 6,500 people. That will lead to some issues and some problems, which is why I've been saying for years, as much as I love San Diego, Ann and I go like 5-6 times a year just to hang out there for weekends, but they need to move Comic-Con out of San Diego. And let's get into why and what happened this time around. You might have seen some whispers going around and some rumblings online, like this post about the worst Hall H experience, because something went down at Hall H this weekend that I'd hate to say is predictable, and here we go. So first of all, let's take a look at what the Hall H situation is, okay? First, we got to set some context and some groundwork. First of all, you got to understand that the estimates that they just put out suggested that 135,000 people officially attended Comic-Con this year. Now, that doesn't even count all the people who come into town for Comic-Con without badges. Like, they just come to be around town and down in the gas lab districts, hang out around the convention center because there's a lot of other stuff going on too. So that's just 135 official people. Now, you also have to keep in mind that Hall H, where all the biggest, most major things happen, including the main event, the Marvel Hall H panel, it holds 6,500 people. That means that of all the people, badge holders, who went to Comic-Con this year, only 4.8% of those people would even have the chance to get in to see the main event, which is, of course, the Marvel Hall H. Now, not all 135,000 people that go to Comic-Con are interested in going in and see the Marvel panel, but I bet a lot of them are.
Yeah.
And they were. Now, just for context, and I've been saying this for years, right across the damn street, Kristian, you've been there many, many times. You stick your head out the door of the convention center and, oh, look, right across the street is a 40,000 seat baseball stadium. 40,000 seat baseball stadium that they hold events in all day. There's always Comic-Con stuff going on in that thing. I've never understood why you wouldn't move Hall H across the bloody street into a thing where you can get 7 to 8 times more people. But that is neither here nor there about this situation. Now, understanding all that context, 135,000 people, only 4.8% can even go to the highlight of Comic-Con, which is, of course, this year, the Marvel Hall H panel. Here's the process of this clusterfuck you got to go through just to get in. First of all, you have to get in line on Friday night. And by the way, on the official website, they encourage you to camp out. They tell you you're not allowed to bring tents, but you are allowed to bring chairs and you are allowed to bring sleeping bags. That's nice. So you have to get in line on Friday night or much earlier Friday to get a wristband. Okay, that's step one. And you cannot get in on Saturday without that Friday wristband that you have to get. And a lot of people are reporting online that they stood in line for 10 to 15 hours just to get a wristband. We're not even talking about getting in line for Hall H yet. That's 10 to 15 hours. A bunch of people stood in line just to get, and I'm sure some people were shorter, but again, some people mentioning 10 to 15 hours in line. I want to point out, guys, Comic-Con is only a couple of days long. So you're, Gus from Pittsburgh, you've been saving up all year. You fly across the country to go to Comic-Con, and you already have to spend 1/3 of Comic-Con just standing in a line to get a wristband. So that's problematic in and of itself. So you stand in line for 10 to 15 hours for some people. Now, here's the way the system works. What they tell you is, if you get that wristband, then the next day you have to get in line again by 7:30 in the morning on Saturday. And they told people that if you go and get the wristband and then you come back and you're in the official line by 7:30 in the morning on Saturday, and by the way, the panel was at 5 o'clock or 5:30 p.m. Didn't start till 6. But if you're in line by 7:30 in the morning and you have your wristband, you are guaranteed a place in Hall H. Here is the problem. The lineup by 6 a.m., I saw people making video blogs about this. The lineup by 6 a.m. was already thousands of people deep. Like, these people recorded them getting to the line at 6 a.m. and like, oh, I guess we're not first in line. And then walking and walking and turning and walking and turning and walking and walking and walking. And then thousands of people deep, they get there. And here's the big problem. Over 500 people. This wasn't just a couple of people. Over 500 people who did exactly what they were told to do, went to the Friday night line, stood in there for 7, 10, 15 hours to get their wristband, got their wristband, were in the official line by 7:30 a.m. Over 500 people at the last minute, after standing in 2 different lines for maybe up to about 20 plus hours, were told at the last second, sorry, there's no room for you. Sorry. Sorry, Mary and Joseph, no room at the inn. You can't come in.
Get out of here.
Get out of here.
Beat it.
And then Comic-Con officials, I watched it this morning, did this little presser to address what happened. Not a single apology. It was just, their basic gist of it was, we're not sure what went wrong. They never offered the people who wasted 2 of their days at Comic-Con standing in lines, doing exactly what they were told to do. They never offered them free passes for next year, some way to make up for the egregious offense they just caused on these people. Nothing like that. And their only theory is they think maybe somebody was able to copy or what's the word I'm looking at? Not copy fit. When you make a fake.
Counterfeit.
Thank you.
Counterfeit the wristbands.
That they counterfeit. They think maybe some people counterfeited the wristbands.
Yeah. Someone had access to it and then told somebody who could make
them. Because they would have had to have known exactly what those wristbands looked like a week in advance.
Yeah.
To be able to do that. But whether that's true or not, I mean, this just highlights again to me the ridiculousness of the Hall H experience at Comic-Con. It's preposterous. And then on top of all that, and I got to listen, everybody knows I love Kevin Feige dearly. Love Kevin Feige. But, you know, read the room, man. There are people who stood in lines for like up to 20 hours to get in to see your Marvel Hall H, and it was fucking 35 minutes long.
Yeah.
It might have been their shortest one on record ever.
35
minutes long.
We were fully expecting just before it broke that they were going to get into the phases. So not necessarily phases, but the lineup of movies coming.
Yeah.
Just give us a lineup of movies. Even if you don't say what year they're coming out, give us a lineup of what is coming.
I mean, I get they may not want to tip their hand until Secret Wars, but I mean, you literally had 90% of the cast of the movie there. Yeah. Like, hey, listen, I'm not saying they had to make more announcements. Listen, we got a scene from Spider-Man Brand New Day of Punisher and Spider-Man teaming up to fight Hulk. They got we'll talk about the Avengers Doomsday trailer a little bit later. We got Ghost Rider announced, the Ryan Gosling announcement, the Sean Levy announcement, the Dave Johnson announcement of Black Panther. I mean, there was a decent amount of announcements. But like, again, people stood in line for 20, 22, 24 hours between Friday and Saturday combined. And you give them a 35-minute panel. Listen, bring over James Marsden to talk for 2 minutes about what it means to him to be back in the X-Men costume again. Bring over Letitia Wright to say, you know, like after Chadwick's passing, is just, every day is an honor to be able to be on set to make another Black Panther.
A little more emotion to it.
Yes. Yeah. Make it a little bit more personal.
Well, question though too, John, and I don't know the answer to this. The answer might be, well, it's Marvel, so you know they can do what they want. But does that because they ran in a half an hour late, and is that because it's a Hall H Comic-Con issue of where they're absolutely, you know, and maybe they couldn't go any longer. Maybe that's the allotted time that they had. But again, it's Marvel, and you let them push. I don't know the logistics of what that could be.
That
You know
was
what I
the
mean?
first thing that went into my head too. Is like, okay, so for those of you who don't know, we kind of mentioned it briefly, but their panel started a half hour late. Wasn't their fault. The panel prior to theirs was running late, and it may not have been their fault either, because the one from earlier in the day could have pushed everything
Trickle
off the
effect.
schedule. But I've got to
Marvel
believe,
was the final. Marvel was the final panel that day.
yeah, the final
Well, yeah, it
panel
was
of
the
the
final
day.
panel, but I still don't know what the deal is as far as, again, logistics of what they're. I mean, the answer is they probably could have pushed over. I just don't know, maybe time schedules, things of how long you have people, press that you have to do afterwards, play, the commitments that you might have that you've already set up that the Marvel people have like directly afterwards, different things that,
Right.
because, they're maybe
They
they're
do the
connected.
press lines.
They have
Yeah.
an interview with so-and-so that's set up for this time, and that has to be set up at this time. And you could say, look, our panel ran longer, so everybody has to be pushed back in a half an hour, 45 minutes later. But I don't disagree with you. I think that it should have been a little longer. They should have maybe read the situation and said, what's going on out there? Well, these people have been sitting out there. Maybe they didn't know yet. Maybe they found out a little
They
later
knew.
on.
I
Yeah.
mean, Marvel's done Hall H forever. They know what people go through to get into Hall
Yeah.
H. And that there might be part of that. So if I'm Kevin Feige, I'm thinking, you know what? Burge from JoeBlow.com can wait for his interview. By the way, I love Burge. I love Burge and I love Joe Blow. I'm just deciding to use him as an example. Okay, yeah, the press can wait. This is Marvel Hall H Comic-Con with 6,500 people in here, some of which stood in line for 10, 20 hours. We got to do this right. I just think you got to give them a little bit more. And when you have all those actors in there, like, you've got plenty to, like, I'm sure people would love to hear from Paul Rudd. I'm sure people would love to hear a little bit from Anthony Mackie. I'm sure people would love to hear more from Chris Evans or whatever. Like, I'm not saying stretch it out artificially, but you got all these people there. Let them say a quick word to the fans.
Totally.
They stood there and they took a selfie. And if 10 of those actors gave like a minute and a half to 2 minutes, that's 20 minutes more padded.
Yeah.
Again, if Marvel's Hall H panel was 30 minutes every year, then this is what you know to expect. But this was, I believe, the shortest one they've ever done, under terrible circumstances. And again, I think most of the fault of this lies with Comic-Con itself. I think this is a organizational nightmare that, again, is, I'm going to say this again, is inevitable. I've been telling you for years, you're always going to get problems like this. When you have such a small town in such a small convention center, and I know you stand in front of San Diego Convention Center, it looks big. Compared to major metropolitan convention centers, it's small. It's literally 25% the size of the Las Vegas Convention Center in terms of square footage. And you have a room that your main event is in that only holds 6,500 people. And you have that represents less than 5% of your total attendees. And you are making people who travel across the country waste 2 of their 3 days there standing in lines for a 30-minute panel. It is on you to make sure this runs better. And they blew it. And I just don't know what else to say to it. Anyway, Kristian, I hate being one of those guys that I'd rather be the guy who points out a problem and then offers some possible solutions. I have no solutions other than the ones I've been saying for years. Move this damn thing out of San Diego into a town that can handle it better. And I love San Diego. Or get Hall H into Petco. Or remember what Disney, Jonathan and I were talking about this beforehand, Kristian. Remember what Disney did with D23 either last year or 2 years ago? Instead of having it in the Anaheim, their main event in the Anaheim Convention Center, they said, you know what? We've got a giant hockey arena in town. Yeah. Maybe we hold our big Marvel presentation in the giant hockey arena. Guess what? San Diego has arenas like that with much more seating than Hall H. Why not go? That's indoors.
Well, and you know what that would also.
Out.
Sorry, I was just saying. You know what that also could do is that it would kind of thin the crowd a little bit during the convention center itself, because everybody else would be going over there, and you'd be able, because it gets so crowded and packed.
It's so crowded.
It's horrible. But I'll tell you, I think that the answer is a mixture of both of what you're saying, or maybe even 3. John, is like I'm with you. I absolutely 100% think that San Diego cannot handle that size of convention anymore for those types of things, because when you look at what Comic-Con has been for at least since 2006, 2005, 2006, it's really become the marketing tool for studios at that time. Before then, when San Diego was really doing this con, it was a festival for fans, and it was a festival for comics. It was a festival for creators. It was a festival to meet certain people that were in things or whatever, shows and stuff. And you could sustain that. But when you start making it this market big show thing that all the studios are going to, you're looking at the coming off of like an Endgame. Yes, I know there have been a lot of movies after that, but Endgame was a $2.8 billion movie that it did, or 2.9 in the theater, one of the biggest movies of all time that has a huge audience. And this is essentially a sequel to that. So of course, that audience and the people that build back up and all this cast, everybody's going to want to see it. So I think that the fix is, and San Diego doesn't want to do this, because you can't just outright not have a convention anymore because of the revenue it brings into the town, right? So that's one part of it. But what they don't want to do, what they should do, is scale back and don't have the big marketing tools. This is a studio thing too. The studios should move to another convention, because Comic-Con's not going to make that decision. They're going to take it for as long as they can. The studios need to move and go somewhere else, because the studios don't want to keep pissing off their fans this way. Comic-Con, well, yeah, we'll take a million people. Why not? Bring them in. San Diego's not gonna ever fight it, but they have to move it. The studios have to say, no, we don't want to do it here anymore. We're going to go somewhere else. That's what should happen. And then Comic-Con San Diego can go back to being a regular convention that it used to be back in the day, the way these other WonderCon and other places do it.
Here's another potential solution. There's like 50 meeting rooms and ballrooms in that convention center. What about when DC or Marvel, or if another year happens where Star Wars, whatever, does their big Hall H presentation, take your 15 biggest halls and ballrooms and say, while that Hall H panel is going on, we will also open up another 7,000 seats in these ballrooms, and we'll close circuit the broadcast into those rooms so you can watch it live in those rooms too. Again, there's a lot of possibilities here. And I'm sorry, I'm done cutting the organizers of Comic-Con any slack on this. They've had 15 years of seeing this building problem, and they've done jack shit all. Every year they say they're going to address it, and every year it looks the fucking same. And it's just, and I only get upset by it because Comic-Con is a glorious, wonderful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And I feel like they are stunting it by doing that. Anyway, guys, I know we've gone overtime on this. My apologies for that. But question is for you. What do you think about this? Hundreds of people who did exactly what they were told to do, stood in like 20 hours worth of lines and never got in to see Hall H. It's just an inevitable consequence of the building problems we've been talking about for years about this place. Anyway, guys, whatever you guys think about this, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.